What are the 3 best marketing books this year? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Sam and I want to make self-growth normal because people shouldn't have to look this information up. It should just be really well known. If that's something you agree with, then please make sure to hit that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps a lot with ranking, SEO, and all this other stuff, and I really appreciate it because so much work goes into making these videos. So what are the 3 best marketing books this year? The number 3 best book on marketing this year is Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath. A big difference between Made to Stick and number 2, which inspired it, is that number 2 focuses on what its author calls epidemics. Those social epidemics, what makes those social? Made to Stick likes to sit there and wonder, what makes the ideas so sticky? What do they have in common and how are they constructed? And the Made to Stick authors, who I'm pretty sure were brothers, give example after example after example after example after example. In case I didn't mention, they do give examples. Just so you guys know. They give example after example of these things they have in common, and the things stand for, really practicing what they preach here, simple, unexpected, concrete, credible, emotional, and stories. Success. It stands for success, but without the last S. S for Sam, I guess. They'll talk about how these ideas apply to things like popcorn and sunburn. And then they'll talk about the frugality of Southwest Airlines and the customer service philosophy of American retail company Nordstrom. I would love to work for Nordstrom, but with this company, the variety does not stop. It is one of the most various examples of marketing books I've ever experienced. I know that there's only 2 S's in the acronym instead of 3, and they spelled success wrong, so they left out the last S, but that acronym, that whole acronym, is probably the reason this is number 3 on my list. It's just how well the acronym ties into this is what makes things stick together, on top of how well the book applies its own contents to its own contents. Contentception. Number 2 is The Tipping Point by Malcolm Gladwell. This book heavily inspired number 3, written by Malcolm Gladwell, lethal communicator. He knows how to throw a story together. He knows how to get his points across. He's extremely confident in his perspectives. They're rather contrarian, and he presents them as dramatically different on a different side of everyday life. And what does that mean? Well, he takes this everything that you know, everything is wrong mentality, which is strikingly enough never rebellious in its nature. It's never obnoxious or juvenile. I don't know how. I feel like it's really hard to do. He takes it and introduces it in this book to marketing. And this book is a result. It's a remarkable display of, once again, how social epidemics become social. Newer examples could include vaping or TikTok or Squishmallows. I don't know why or how, but most of the examples in the book I hadn't heard of before. But what are hush puppies? I looked them up and they are not something I would want to wear. No judgment to people who wear them, I guess especially now. More power to you. More power to The Tipping Point. Maybe I just live under a rock. The strangest and at the same time most useful to me concept in The Tipping Point was probably the 3 types of idea spreaders. And what is so unusual to me about this concept is that marketing authors very rarely categorize the type of people who spread ideas. They talk about what the ideas have in common and the way that they were spread, like what they have in common, but they never categorize the type of people who spread them. And that really struck me. It's just not a normal thing to do, bruh. When you combine ideas in this book, upon hearing them, you're probably like, what is this guy talking about? But the book explains them very well. For example, the power of context, the law of the few, which is that, the different types of people who spread social epidemics, and the stickiness factor, which is what makes an idea so sticky. It is no surprise why The Tipping Point has sold 3 million copies. Number 1, the number 1 best book this year on marketing. It surprised me, but it also didn't because of how amazing it is. Purple Cow by Seth Godin. What's peculiar about Purple Cow, and I feel like peculiar is a word that you can't avoid describing when you're talking about marketing books, because marketing is where a lot of, business education gets a little bit spacey, if anything. Especially for Seth Godin as an author, what's peculiar about Purple Cow for a marketing book is how spacey it is. It's not really any strategies or advice at all, but marketing mindset, which is very unusual. Like, Godin doesn't call it this, but I don't know. To me, that's what it is. Maybe someone came up with this before, but as I like to say, escaping the box begins with thinking outside of it. The author describes different ways in which a lot of companies leave their customers with a true wow experience. In the digital age, this can simply not be ignored. Successful companies, by the way, and other companies that fell to the wayside because they're either not doing this or as they grew exponentially, or they did do it, but they kind of just dropped off of leaving their customers with a wow experience. You'll learn about the history of advertising on TV, which is pretty understandable by the end of that chapter why Godin is so passionate about it, and where it began to dip. You know, that type of advertising where you could sell literally the same exact product for decades on end, back to back to back to back to front to back, and successfully. That doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't. So that's why this book was written. It really helped me understand the difference between influencer marketing and product marketing. Purple Cow is the book that really gave me the bias of, like, if you're an entrepreneur, you need to be completely obsessed with innovation. If you do something, make sure that you do the most of it, but make sure that it's something that no one else does, because that is it's going to be something that really helps you stand out. Make sure it's something that no one can see or try out and not feel some kind of way about. In my review, I give more modern examples. Make sure that it's something that blows everything and everyone else out of the water in some measure or measures, but do not meet everyone's interests somewhere in the middle. This is normal now, and people expect it of you to provide genuine customer service. I mean, being a genuine customer is also becoming important. That is where the term Karen came from, the lack of. One time I accidentally ordered Burger King with my girlfriend with mayo. We hate mayo more than anything in the galaxy. When we got home and realized both of our orders had mayo on them, I went back and told them, imagine being the person on the other line. I was like, we hate mayo. And you know, when you're hungry, you make mistakes. I accidentally ordered it with mayo, and it probably sounds so dumb. But I was wondering if we could have it remade without the mayo. And you know what they did? They remade it for free without the mayo. If we liked mayo, we would have had to pay them $15 more. My favorite thing about this book isn't just all the insights it brings to the table and how they can be applied 18 years later into today's market with even more accuracy. Again, like, this book came out in what, like 2001, 2003? It's really, really ahead of its time. But it's also a perhaps subtle fanboy-like magnetism that Godin seems to have for people who think for themselves. He really supports individualistic creative thinking, and in our post-industrialist era, I think there's a huge shortage of that. Honorable mentions go to Hitmakers by Derek Thompson and Contagious by Jonah Berger. So those are the 3 best marketing books this year. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Is there something I'm missing? Is there something you would change? I hope you guys liked this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up for the YouTube algorithm. Hit that subscribe button so you can see all the different content that we're putting out here. And if you could turn on that notification bell to get a notification whenever I drop a new video, that would mean so much to me. But thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can find me everywhere, and I will see you then.